Hello and welcome to everybody to SiteHive Horizons Online event. This is the end of a three-week program of presentations that Ben, Josh and I have been taking around Australia and participating in a great event in Auckland. So we're coming to you from Auckland today, but we do genuinely appreciate you joining us and hearing a bit of an update from SiteHive. And we'll also be joined by Josh from Timescapes. So it's great to have the Timescapes team partnering with SiteHive. We expect this will take about an hour, so we've got a bit of content to run through. As Eva mentioned, please post some questions. We'd like to keep this as engaging and as informative as we can for you. So let's get underway. So SiteHive, environmental management for today's world. That's what we are all about. That's what we are focused on every day. We are a technology business, so we use technology to change the way that we're driving environmental management. So with the combination of using software and hardware to provide new capabilities, new features, new things to you is the core of what we do at SiteHive. We've now been in business just coming up 7 years. And with your support, SiteHive is now live on, I think, around about 450 odd projects with over 1,100 devices across Australia and New Zealand. And that's not possible without your support. And we do very much appreciate the feedback, the support that all of you give to us. Last year at the 2025 Horizons event, we launched our next generation of the SiteHive Hexanode units. This was a multi-year program of development. So I'm going to go through a bit of an update on what's changed in a number of the Hexanode devices. And then I'll hand over to Ben, who's going to take us through some of the new things that are coming to market, many of which are actually available to you right now. Josh will talk a little bit about Timescapes, and then we'll come back and do an exciting new launch as well. So as I say, we launched the next generation of SiteHive Hexanodes 12 months ago. And one of the key reasons we did that was to provide independent assurance around the actual calibration itself. So being able to get calibrated via a NATA certified laboratory, such as Calibre, NVMS, and ultimately to be able to do your own calibration was one of the core objectives in terms of that next generation. It's been great to see many projects take up this ability to get the devices calibrated by a NATA certified laboratory. And you can see here Brett from the Coomera connector. I'm not sure if Brett's online, but he's certainly looking very relaxed. Dust was an area that we really focused on with the next generation of SiteHive Hexanodes, and it's also been an area we've continued to focus on over the last 12 months. So one of the big changes that we made in the area of dust was changing the actual sensor itself. So we went with a new sensor that had 5 times the airflow of the previous sensor. So the more airflow meant that we have better accuracy with the actual measurements itself. We also introduced a modulator to the actual readings, particularly in scenarios where we were experiencing false positives, particularly where you might have been seeing high humidity or fog, and sometimes the readings created false positives. The way that we've tackled this is to introduce a modulator that recognizes when these climatic events are happening and to be able to reduce those readings to being accurate. To ensure that we're getting the level of accuracy right, we co-located these dust sensors with the modulator at government locations so that they were sitting alongside reference sensors so that we could compare the results and actually see whether the modulator was accurate or not. We've now had those out in place for something like 18 months. And as you can see on the graph on the screen there, this is showing some of our modulated results from the Clayton project against the EPA Dandenong. And you can see that they're incredibly accurate. We've gained a lot of trust and confidence in those readings, and that's certainly coming through the conversations we're having with a number of projects. And in fact, we had the EPA in Victoria work with the Suburban Connect team to make sure that the readings were accurate, and the Suburban Connect team were able to get that confidence from the EPA team, so they were able to move forward, which was a great step forward. In addition to the modulator, one of the more recent changes was actually an industrial design change of the casing itself. Something that you won't necessarily see from the outside, but we've increased the amount of airflow coming through that dust sensor to, again, continue to improve the accuracy, but also to protect the actual sensor itself. So dust has been an area that we've focused and invested quite a bit over the last 12, 18 months. And it's great to see the confidence levels continuing to increase across the marketplace. One of the more new innovative approaches we've taken is the area of ground-borne noise. For those who don't know, ground-borne noise is the noise that's generated from things, buildings or something shaking. You can see the image here of a tunnel boring machine, probably in Sydney, because I think we've got quite a number of those going all through different parts of Sydney. And then you can imagine that tunnel boring machine under residents, creating vibrations through the earth, coming up into houses, creating, causing the houses to shake, generating noise. So the objective is to be able to identify what is the noise that is generated through the vibration of structural buildings. The traditional approach to this was to put a microphone in place and actually measure the noise. Now that's incredibly intrusive for residents if they're having to put a microphone in their kitchen, or even worse, in their bedroom, to establish the amount of noise that's being generated through vibration. SiteHive, in conjunction with Acoustic Studio and Sydney Metro, undertook an experiment to see if we could actually measure noise through a vibration device. This is really a world first, and that experiment proved to be incredibly successful. So you can see here on the image on the screen, the vibration graph at the top, and then the associated noise levels below. So by being able to measure the ground-borne noise through vibration, we're actually stripping out all the extraneous noise, such as people talking, a stereo, or whatever it might be, and actually get the actual noise impact from the vibration in of itself. And of course, it's much less intrusive putting a vibration device into someone's home as opposed to putting a microphone. So a really great step forward, and we're seeing some use cases of where this is being used, and it's fantastic. The last one I want to touch on is how SiteHive is supporting builders, particularly in complex environments. And we're seeing a lot more building construction happening across many of the capital cities. One of the challenges of buildings is actually cellular connection. As an example, we're working with the built team at the Reserve Bank of Australia, and we're putting vibration devices down in the basements where there's no cellular connection. We've enabled them to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi so that they can have real-time access to the data through Wi-Fi rather than just relying on cellular reception. In addition to that, we're working on changing our dashboard map from a 2D view into a 3D view, as presented on the slide on screen. So as opposed to seeing where the devices are located in a 2D map, when it comes to buildings, we actually want to see where the devices are located vertically. So this is a great mock-up of showing where vibration devices and noise devices might be in a building, and see the associated readings relative to where particular sensitive receivers are. So SiteHive is very much focused on how we can support builders in complex environments, and it's something that we're going to continue to push forward on. In October last year, SiteHive was very fortunate enough to win the AFR Most Innovative Company for the construction and property category. This was a great award for Ben and I and the team, and we were incredibly proud to receive this. But it's more than just an award to us. It's actually representative of how we work with our partners, with our clients, to be able to drive innovation. On screen here, not only is there the SiteHive team, but we have Dr. Ben from the UTS, and we have some of the team from the Western Tunnel package celebrating with us. because much of the innovation actually comes from the teams that we work with, generating ideas, us understanding those problems and building those solutions. So it's a big call out to all the different projects and people we work with to say thank you for contributing to this award. At our core as a technology business, we want to be innovative, we want to drive innovation in the environmental monitoring space, and this was a great recognition for that. I'm now going to hand over to Ben, who's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the changes, but also some of the things that we're releasing right now. Ben, over to you.
Nice one. Thanks, Adam. And yeah, as Adam said, all of the innovations and all of the developments that you see have been developed in collaboration and partnership with you, with industry, with academia, with consultants, and on the coalface with real projects. And we see our role as bringing emerging innovative technology and marrying them up with industry challenges. In particular, we're seeing two seismic shifts in the industry at the moment, one of which being away from the lifeblood of construction, which has been infrastructure, into a new buildings-heavy environment. And secondly, the rise of AI and the drive of AI into all of our lives. So we think there's a couple of opportunities here, and there's a few things we've been working on in the background where these things are converging that we're pleased to announce and talk you through today. But in particular, so when we first started 7 years ago, we really rode the wave of big infrastructure. So Sydney Metro was underway, North East Link in Victoria, Suburban Rail Loop was just starting, and that really was a very heavy compliance-focused environment. So the big infrastructure, the rail lines, the roads that were driving and reshaping our cities. What we're seeing now, though, is now that infrastructure is in place, it's a new wave of social infrastructure, particularly around schools, hospitals, and in particular data centers that have really come to market in the last few years and are changing the way that the construction industry operates. The construction industry itself is continuing to grow, but the new mega projects are now commercial developments, and in particular, data centers. This is an image here of one of the data centers in Footscray in West Melbourne. This is one of the largest commercial developments in the whole of the Southern Hemisphere. In Kemps Creek in Western Sydney, there's a $10 billion data center coming to market. When we started 7 years ago, $10 billion was buy you a whole metro line. Now it's a single data center development. And what we're seeing is the compliance and the regulation following this trend into the building sector. So the rules, the regulation, the scrutiny from the EPA and the regulators, and the impact on nearby residents and receivers is now just as high for these commercial developments that was once only relevant for infrastructure. And we're seeing now the builders having to change tact and follow suit. You can see in this image alone the sensitivity of the receivers around, the residents, the communities, and the impact that these potential developments are having in these areas. We saw this come together last year, so you might have seen this in the news. This is the station box in Parramatta, where the Sydney Metro West TBMs are coming in, and the new metro line is going to be built. So when we first started on this project, the primary concern was particularly around vibration to nearby sensitive structures. So you can see on the right of this image here, this is the Roxy Theatre, a heritage building that is obviously very, very close to the excavation box below. This has been a challenge for infrastructure and development and is reasonably well understood, and so structural vibration monitoring was critical in making sure that this project could be delivered effectively. A new challenge, however, that we saw was that as the TBMs entered Parramatta, they passed under a Telstra exchange, which is just to the north of this image here. And as the TBMs came underneath, there was a sudden alert and risk that the TBMs going underneath were shaking the Telstra exchange, which had the potential to knock out the telecommunications infrastructure provided by that exchange for Western Sydney. This ground the whole project to a halt. The TBMs had to stop until the project team was sure that no damage was going to be caused to this sensitive equipment, which is quite different to the type of vibration that causes damage to structures or potentially impacts people. So the human comfort element, this new structure, this new sensitive equipment vibration requirement caused us to pause and think and really start to understand the new types of measurements that would be required for this changing landscape, away from the infrastructure and the station development around just the structural stuff, but around how understanding the impact of vibration on structures, humans, and now sensitive equipment could change the way that projects are developed, interfaced, and the information needed by project teams in real time at their fingertips. Off the back of these two projects in particular, we worked with the consultants and the contractor teams to develop a whole range of new features. The first of which is continuing our adventures in AI, where we were one of the first to put out an AI audio classifier where we could automatically tell what was happening in audio files, and now apply this to vibration. This is a first, and this is where we work very closely with the team from Renzo Tonin in particular to understand the different types of vibration signals and the waveform patterns that previously needed deep domain expertise to look at and understand what was causing that particular type of vibration. We see consistently that the vibration, spikes in vibration, the waveforms that they trigger are often caused by people kicking devices, local interference, people walking by devices, devices falling off the wall, all the sort of stuff that is nothing to do with construction activity, but can cause false positives and spikes in measurements. Also, construction activity does cause vibration, and managing that proactively to drive productivity and know that your construction activity is not impacting the structures and the people and the sensitive equipment nearby is something that's critically important to making sure that you're delivering your project effectively and keeping it moving. So our brand new vibration AI waveform classifier developed with projects is now available and can do exactly that for you. What you can see here is all of our waveforms in the platform are going to be classified automatically for Enviro Pro users to tell you whether that vibration is construction or not. In the example you can see on the right-hand screen here, this particular waveform, whilst it is over the 3 millimeters per second sensitive velocity threshold, you can see on the right-hand side the frequency assessment against the DIN 4150 standard has it under the frequency curves for heritage buildings, and we have confidently identified this as construction activity. What this means is construction is happening nearby, but there is no risk to this sensitive structure. We have confidently identified that with the waveform classifier, so the project team can keep things moving, safe in the knowledge that they're not going to cause any damage to nearby structures. So we continue to learn and evolve and innovate on all the information that we're processing from our over 1,000 devices out in the field, working with industry to bring innovative new AI-enabled features to your fingertips, your workflows, so you can make more quick and confident decisions from wherever you are. The image on the right that you can see here behind the waveform itself is actually for another project that Adam mentioned earlier. So this is part of the Suburban Connect team working in Clayton. So Clayton has been described as the most vibration sensitive square kilometre in Australia. So they're building a station box. This will be a future suburban rail loop station location, but it's surrounded by a whole range of sensitive equipment. We've got the Anstow nuclear facility, the university is there, there's a whole range of sensitive labs and medical facilities. And off the back of the understanding of the sensitive equipment related to the Telstra exchange in Parramatta, we've developed a whole range of measurement capabilities specifically for now sensitive equipment. This is related to the vibration VC curves, specifically enabling people to keep sensitive equipment operating while construction work happens nearby. This is in exactly the same hexanode vibration device that you currently have. We can now, with our 3 triaxial accelerometers in the same device at the same time, measure for structural damage, we can measure for human comfort, and now we can measure for sensitive equipment impacts. All 3 measurement types, all 3 at the same time, all in real time. So by having the same devices out, the team can confidently now progress their works whilst the facilities can continue operating nearby. So specifically, these devices are out in, for instance, IVF clinics, in operating theatres, so the project teams can keep their project moving confidently, driving productivity whilst minimizing or understanding the potential risk to nearby sensitive equipment. This is going to change the game for a whole range of new types of hospital developments, school developments, anywhere where you're building or working close to sensitive equipment that needs to continue to operate, now with the SiteHive Hexanode vibration, you can measure all types of potential vibration impacts, all in the same unit, all in real time, and be confident in keeping your project moving. This is in early preview at the moment. So again, we're working with a team from Renzo Tonin who are validating and verifying and helping us understand the measurements themselves. But this will be available very soon and a key new feature, particularly for the volume of hospital developments that we're seeing coming up and the need to drive that and maintain that productivity. One thing that's been a key differentiator for us beyond the measurements themselves is the context and the media. So we were the first people to bring out combined directional noise monitoring combined with images and audio, giving you eyes and ears across your site. Our media capture was highly innovative, and when we first released it as part of our first Hexanode device, listened to everything that was going on and captured the first loud thing in every given measurement period. The feedback, though, we've had consistently more recently is that in these complex environments, sometimes something will happen on site, and then within the same measurement period, something else louder might happen. What we're pleased to release today is a whole enhancement of our media capture process enabled by the next generation of Hexanode devices released last year, which now guarantees you we will capture the loudest thing in every measurement period. So whatever your measurement periods are, whether they're 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, when you come and log into SiteHive Enviro, you will see now that the media capture correlates exactly with the maximum sound that was given in that period. You can see on the graph here, we have a max sound here of 88 decibels. What we now do is wait until the end of the measurement period. We have a whole bank of images and audio captured throughout that, and we send you up the loudest one, guaranteeing you the ability to see and hear the loudest things in every given. This is a big step forward, and we're going to be doing a lot more with our media capture, in particular our ability to process and classify audio to give you confidence in knowing exactly what's going on across your site 24/7. We're also extending the media capture. So as of last year, when we released the standalone Hexanode Dust, that was available, but it didn't have media capture ability. As of today, people using standalone Hexanode Dust devices will now have the benefit of images and audio captured from their devices, triggered by the dustiest thing happening out on site. So as we're sampling and as we're measuring the dust in real time, we will wait till the end of the measurement period, and we will then send up a pair of images for standalone Hexanode Dust devices to give you the confidence and the eyes across your site from wherever you are about what is causing dust out on site. We are also doing this for the soon to be released, in about 15 minutes, SiteHive Hexanode Weather device, which will also be triggering media as well. So you can be confident now that not only from SiteHive devices, you get all of the measurements you need in real time, 24/7 from wherever you are, but you have an even richer context layer of images and audio and additional data to make better decisions informed by information from a range of different systems and platforms to maintain your productivity and minimize your environmental impact. Beyond the media, we're doing a lot more with external partners and context layers as well. You may have seen that we're doing a lot more with aerial imagery, in particular drone survey. So whether you're using Nearmap or MetroMap or Propeller Aero, you can now connect them into SiteHive Enviro Pro and have up-to-date aerial imagery across your project. We actually time synchronize this as well. So if you look today, you will see the latest drone survey from Propeller Aero for whatever the state of your site is now. But if you go back a week or 2 weeks or whatever you have historical imagery to investigate an environmental incident, the drone survey will update to correlate to the nearest survey from that time. So you can see the exact state of the project, where everything was, your layouts, what was happening, your earthworks on site, correlated to all of the measurements so you can make better decisions on rich contextual information. We're doing more with maps and map layers too. We've started working with a number of ports and operational facilities. We can now integrate GIS layers. What you can see here in this middle image is noise catchment areas, in this case around an operating port. So you can start understanding design alignments, catchment areas, a whole range of GIS layers, and we're also bringing in live vessel movements. This enables port operators to confidently see which vessels might be contributing to their dust spikes as they offload grain, or they might be causing noise issues in the community, where they can now measure confidently the audio classifier is picking up ship noise, and now they can correlate that to very specific vessels that are coming in and out of port. So with these additional layers, we're enabling a whole new layer of operational decision making to you and your teams from wherever you are. One other integration we've recently added is a partnership with a time-lapse provider, Timescapes. We're actually at the Timescapes office here in New Zealand today. An integration with the Timescapes platform allows a really nice alternative perspective and more bird's eye view to complement the Hexanode device images and audio. So we'll pass over to Josh, and he can give us a bit of an overview of the Timescapes platform and how that all comes together. But Eva, is it worth pausing for any questions before we go into Josh? Or
yeah, that would be great. We do have a question, Ben, from Aaron. What is the noise floor of the Hexanode vibration? Which VC curve can it achieve?
Yeah, great question. So on that, so the noise floor currently, we capture the whole range of VCC. The noise floor of the device. So we wanted to put this measurement out without having to change hardware initially. So this is all in the same device at the moment. But at the moment, we do have a noise floor. We have the complete coverage of VCC. We miss the first, I think, 10 hertz or so on VCD, and then we have the rest of it captured. We're actually going to do a separate webinar specifically on this, where we'll go into the technicalities and the details of how the signals are processed, how the waveforms are interpreted, how to interact with the VC curves themselves. So we'll be doing a deep dive webinar on vibration and vibration measurements in the next few weeks. Details of that will follow shortly, but the answer to that question specifically is VCC and most of VCD.
Any other questions, Eva?
No, all good. Over to you, Josh.
Nice. Go on, Josh.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, listen, I want to start out by saying how excited we are to be integrated with, partnering with, and really attending these Horizons events with the SiteHive team. It's been pretty awesome. And look, our customers are super excited about the integration with SiteHive and really keen to see what's ahead for that. So today we're just going to do a really quick overview of Timescapes, and in particular, look at how the Timescapes and SiteHive integrations are adding values to both platforms. So I want to start out just with what is Timescapes. If you're not familiar with us, we're really about continuous visibility on sites so that project teams can track, validate, and communicate progress. You can track progress from anywhere, whether you're on site or off. You might be at your desk or on a mobile phone, and you can stay on top of what's happening on projects in real time. There's an angle around accelerating claims validation, which focuses on having access to a full visual project record, making it super easy to go back and access that, and really to make sure that you've got the evidence to support claims, disputes, and such. And then there's a team communication angle that focuses on things like instant and custom time lapses, 3D model overlays, and even some AI analytics that we'll take a quick look at. We do that through fixed position, fixed interval cameras. So they're high resolution, self-contained, able to withstand elements, easy to install. You'll notice there's a small form solar panel. So they're completely wireless, and it makes it super easy to get up and running, even on greenfield sites, maybe that don't have a lot of infrastructure in place. But ultimately, the platform's all about providing a continuous visual record of what's happening, so that project teams are making decisions faster, they're more well-informed, and able to be proactive. But I just want to sort of quickly touch on the Timescapes and SiteHive integration in particular is all about sharing data between the two platforms. And that's really to enable teams with more proactive visibility and to give better context in the platforms that teams are already working in. So with that said, let's jump in. We'll take a live look at that. Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview. So I'll start out at what you might think of as a projects or portfolio view, where you can see all of the projects that you have access to. And if you think about people that are supporting projects from head office, maybe it's project directors, construction managers, environmental teams, QSs, really easy to search for, filter, and access the projects that you need from any place and time. And then, of course, you can drill into individual projects. And that's all about getting a holistic view, in this case of multiple cameras on a single job. I can see what's happening. And if I've been away from site, maybe attending a Horizons event, or you've been called into meetings, it's super easy to come in and really quickly get a snapshot, either hour to hour or minute to minute, of what's been happening across that site. You'll see from a user interface perspective, we've spent a lot of time making sure that it respects people's time and focus. And it's one of the things we've really appreciated about partnering with the SiteHive team. The feedback we've gotten on their platform is that people really appreciate how easy it is to use, how easy it is to access information. And I think that's really a shared ethos between the two platforms. But essentially then we can drill into the details. So that's where we can come in and start to see high resolution, high quality imagery. We can make sure who's on site, what work's happening, whether it's being done safely. And that might be checking in on the progress of a crane lift, jumping to another part of site to see how a concrete pour is happening, or to a third to make sure that our formwork's on track. So essentially within about 60 seconds, you get a great view of what's happening on site without having to worry about leaving the desk, calling around for updates and things like that. Jump into a couple other quick things. So if you've got an incident on site, you can come in and pull up things like image comparison. That allows you to just jump in, compare any 2 points in time, and get a really nice overlay between them. There's different ways to do that. So I could pull up an X-ray, which is great at seeing beneath or behind. In this case, maybe investigating what may have caused a flood incident. I can then flag something on site. Really easy to sort of mark that up for other people on the project, and then share that out with other teams. So that could be via email or into platforms like Procore, Autodesk Forma, or things like that. Now let's shift gears for just a moment and take a look at the SiteHive integration. So starting out, when we're integrated with SiteHive, if there's been an exceedance in SiteHive, you can actually get a notification that pops up that lets you know, hey, there's been a noise, there's been a dust exceedance, things like that. Now, what does that mean? It means I've got the context. So not only at the moment of impact, but I can actually come in here and see what happened before and after leading up to that exceedance. That's stored permanently in this environmental monitoring panel. And that allows you to just hover over each of these exceedances and see what was happening on site at the time, including for sustained exceedances and all of the imagery that goes along with that. It's great here, but I can jump into other cameras as well and see the exact same thing at those moments of time. So as I mentioned, it's really all about that broad context for what was happening from a high level bird's eye view, in addition to what's already being captured in SiteHive. Now, the other side of that is you'll notice a link that takes me back. So if I want to get more information, I can click and go straight into SiteHive, where that's our source of truth. So now I can see all of the information that's captured there to dig into it. And looking just a little bit further at the events, you've already got the great media and audio files that are being captured through the SiteHive sensors, but we can also then pull the timescapes imagery straight into the platform. So you think about that bird's eye view of what was happening on site. If you're working in SiteHive, you can see that as well, alongside the great media that's already being captured in SiteHive. So I want to jump back to one last thing on the timescapes front. We basically have a machine learning or AI engine that's running in the background, and that's able to identify things that are happening on site. So that could be people, plant and equipment, and we can even do things like pull in weather data. We dashboard that, pull it all into one place for you, and make it easy to access. So one of the sort of the key use cases that I'll call out for you that we see all the time is being able to pull in something like precipitation, where I can see weather events or rain across the course of the project. And where it gets really interesting is overlaying that with something like site activity. So now you think about a case where you need to validate a delay or an extension of time claim. I can see how the weather impacted the site activity in one place. I can actually pull out the visual synced record that's in the platform already, see exactly what was happening on site at any point in time, and even grab that whole period and run a quick time lapse. So now I can see a little short video of what was happening on site. I can see the work start to drop off, the weather start to come in, and now it's super easy to grab date and time stamped visuals to support that claim and just make it easy and avoid rejections and things like that. So I'm going to pause there. There's obviously a lot more information. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'll pass it back over to the SiteHive team, and that'll feed nicely into, I think, some of the nice announcements they've got coming.
Nice one, thanks, Josh. Any questions for Josh?
Not at the moment, but if you see the question mark in the top bar, you can just add your questions by hopping into that Q&A panel if you have any others.
Nice one, thank you. And I think the partnership and the integration has been great, because we're all around bringing you the latest technology and putting that in your fingertips. So a lot of that is around integrations and partnerships, and us just getting you the right information you need to make quick and confident decisions and keep your project moving. So we'll continue to build out more timescapes, features and integrations. We'll continue to build out more context, more map layers, more of the information you need there. But also any ideas, any inputs you've got for any other connections, integrations, we'd love to hear them. And all of this has been built out by input and feedback from you out at the coalface. So we've covered a few things there. Integration, certainly one of them. Talked around the AI identification of vibration via the waveform classifier and the vibration VC curves. So we'll be doing a specific webinar on vibration, the measurements, the new measurements, the way we're doing the classification there. We've also got a couple of papers at Internoise that we'll be presenting. So come and see us at Internoise in August and at the relevant local acoustical society events. And you saw more around enhanced media capture, and we're now capturing the loudest thing, the dustiest thing out on site at the moment, and that's live now. So you can log in now, you can have a look, you can check, and you can correlate with your noise graphs and check that the LA max lines up with the media you've got below. And again, please keep giving us input and feedback as to enhancements, how you're using these features, and what you'd like to see next as well. So the one that a lot of people have been interested about and asking around is all around weather. And I think we saw it through Josh's example there, the importance of understanding weather, in particular rainfall and wind speed, and how that impacts your site and your productivity. Weather's been something that we have been asked about and we have been considering for some time now. But as I mentioned earlier on, we bring together innovations in low-cost, digital, reliable sensors and measurements, and then marry them up with the industry challenges. Weather, however, so far has not been at a point until now that we've been confident that the technology is ready for a step change in weather management and productivity. But today, that all changes. So weather is really important. It's estimated that almost half of projects globally are delayed by weather. And weather is a really critical element to keep your project moving. Firstly, you need to understand everything in context. So knowing and understanding the specifics around your site and exactly what is happening on your site can be quite a challenge. Not only are the bomb stations and the measurements you need to fall back on often some distance, often 10, 20, 30 kilometers away, sometimes you're running big project sites and the difference in rainfall volume or wind speed or temperature can be quite different across your site. So being able to understand that in the context of your project is critical. You need to use this information so you can plan and schedule with confidence, not only acting on what's happened on site so far based on accurate local measurements, but you need to be able to look ahead with confidence too. Often the forecasts are very accurate, but only at the locations of the bomb stations themselves. You're probably using different systems, different platforms to collate all your measurements and your forecasts together and understand how they fit together. And that causes confusion and reduces your confidence in your ability to act. So being able to plan and schedule with confidence has been a significant challenge to date. And lastly, the most important thing in construction is everybody needs to go home at the end of the day. Understanding your planned works and whether that works are actually safe to operate, be they crane operations or lifts or using heavy plant and machinery on wet ground. People need to go home at the end of the day, and keeping your teams safe and understanding your work plans and making sure everyone does go home, weather has a significant impact on that. The current landscape has shown us consistently that the current solutions don't work. The current hardware doesn't last. It's analog and it's cheap. It'll give you measurements in the short term, but we've seen countless number of rain gauges filled up with gunk and leaves out on site and unable to measure. The rain gauges are typically just tubes, and you have to go out and measure them yourselves. They're prone to clogging up. The cheap analog anemometers, as they're spinning around, can get gunked up and stop working. And the current weather stations are often huge with big power requirements, and you have to cobble together a combination of data loggers, SIM cards, measurement devices, and hope that that whole stack keeps lasting. We've heard that the BOM forecasts aren't local to your site. So very rare do projects have the luxury of a BOM station nearby. And understanding that the forecast from 5, 10, 20 kilometers away, that doesn't help you understand what you need to do specific to your site in the moment. And lastly, the measurements from your site and the forecast of what's going to happen next are in totally different platforms. We've seen countless spreadsheets of screenshots of forecasts, people trying to correlate and understand and synchronize time periods and reporting. And we're hearing that insurers are looking for more confidence and resolution in what was your design requirement of your project. Were you prepared for this volume of rainfall? And then can you prove that this was the forecast, this is the plan that you acted on based on this forecast, versus what actually then fell can be quite different things. Often the forecast shows not too much rain, and then a deluge pours down. Sometimes the forecast shows a significant rain event, and then you take all this preventative action, and then nothing actually happens. So all of that combines to a number of frustrations that we're pleased today to be able to help you solve. So today we are launching SiteHive Weather. It's a unique combination of hyper-local measurements. This is a small, compact, new mobile device that you can deploy across your project in multiple locations and have hyper-local measurements for what actually happened right across your project. We're combining this for the first time with near-term intelligent forecasting, so giving you the confidence about what's about to happen, what rain's coming, what wind is happening, how the temperature and humidity is changing. Intelligent near-term forecasting helps you plan and operate the near term with confidence. We're surrounding this with rich contextual insights. So we talked earlier about the media, the images and the audio, giving you eyes and ears across your site from wherever you are. The contextual insights from the timescape cameras and the bird's eye view, not only what has happened on site, but for what's about to happen next and what you need to do about it with confidence. And we're putting this all together in one place. The first time that measurements, forecast, and context have all been available at your fingertips from wherever you are. This is all underpinned by a brand new device that we're making available. You might recognize this device. So the same confidence that Adam spoke to earlier around the NATA certification in our measurements, we want you to be able to have measurements that are accurate enough that you can rely on and you can stand behind. The reason for this is because of this, we've developed a partnership with Vaisala. They're coming out of Norway. You might see these devices at your local EPA government reference stations. They're the same devices used at the BOM stations in combination with other reference sensors that give you the confidence that when you're seeing numbers in SiteHive Weather, they can be relied upon. It uses a whole new era of solid state digital technology. The 3 prongs that you can see atop are ultrasonic wind speed. They give us very granular wind speed, wind direction information, and no longer do they get clogged up like an anemometer might do. The silver cap that you see at the top is an acoustic rainfall sensor. So no more manual rain gauges, no more getting clogged up with leaves. What this does is use an acoustic sensor to measure in very granular increments both rainfall volume and rainfall intensity. So you can have very granular measurements for not only how much rain fell, but over what period and how intense was that. So you can use that to compare to forecasts to justify your claims around what actually fell and what you did about it. You'll get the whole new same system of record with the annotations, the notes, and the event, which I'll show you in a second, to manage all of your weather information in one spot. In the middle of the device, we have temperature and humidity. We calculate wet bulb temperature too to understand heat stress out on sites. All of this is on the same then main body as your used to with the SiteHive Hexanode range. It's the same plug and play capacity, the same power connectors, the same images and audio being captured from the device, and the same connectivity. So the same 4G roaming across different device networks, the Wi-Fi capability Adam spoke to earlier, all in the same device. So once receiving your Hexanode Weather, unboxing it and plugging it in, you'll have weather data live in SiteHive Enviro within minutes. So no more fumbling around with data loggers, SIM cards, working out how to install and assemble this thing. This thing just comes out the box and you're up and running within minutes with live weather data. You can also combine this with a dust module. So we can offer a Hexanode weather and dust together. The benefit of this is that typically people put weather stations at their site office because they're big and clunky and have big power requirements. Then they do their dust monitoring often at the boundary or the perimeter or nearby sensitive receivers. With this now unique combination that you can see on the middle image on the right of dust and weather together, you can now confidently deploy this across your project, and you can say very clearly where dust has been coming from with the combination of wind speed, wind direction, and dust measurements all in the same unit in a new hyperlocal mobile form. You can keep this at your site office, then you can deploy it as needed or put multiple out around the precinct, around the project boundary, to have that evidence base for exactly what the dust levels were and where it was blowing on or off site, proving exactly what was happening out on site. So I'll just flick over now and give you a demo and show how all of this comes together. So here it is. This is SiteHive Weather. You can see immediately a different map view and new information available. This is a great example from today. So this is Melbourne. So I think there's a number of people on the call from Victoria that are about to experience a rain event. What these map layers show you in very detailed context is exactly where the rain is and exactly where the wind is blowing. You can see here, we've got a whole new system around giving you information as soon as you log in, so you can make quick and confident decisions on exactly what is going on. We're pulling in the rain radar, so you can see the rainfall event here combined with the wind direction showing this rain event over the next 2 hours. So this intelligent near-term forecasting is not only graphs and charts, but also the map view in context. You can see the Hexanode weather device that they have on site here, measuring live data from site. So at the moment, the rainfall is not hit, but you can see the wind starting to pick up and blow, and this rain cloud is coming in. Weather is now treated as a first-class citizen. It is its own aspect. So in the side panel along the side here, we've got all our traditional noise, dust, vibration measurements. You can now have weather as its own aspect, and you can just take weather from SiteHive. If you take the SiteHive Hexanode weather and have the SiteHive weather offering, you can use it as a standalone environmental management tool just for measuring your weather devices. What you can see here is we have the devices on the side panel and the information in the map, and we can dive into the detail here to see exactly what's going to happen in a more granular form. As we click in, we can see where the dominant wind has been coming from today. You can use the same time brush slider to understand that, and you can navigate and see during the different times of the day where the wind has been coming from. As we dive down into the detail of the graphs then, this is where you now get the unique combination of measurements and forecasts. We have these at very granular increments. We have 1 minute data, we have 5 minute data, 15, 1 hour, 3 hour, whatever periods you need, we have all of them together in this unique combination of measurements from the day so far, and then forecasts for the remainder of the day looking ahead. So this is wind that you can see at the top here. Down the bottom here is now you can see the rainfall starting to kick in. So you can see that the rain has just started now in Clayton in Melbourne. So you can see the big spike in rainfall, and you can see the forecast for the remainder of the day. So as the map layers roll through, you can see the correlation here between exactly what is happening on site, what has the volume of rain that's falling, and the volume of rain likely to fall for the remainder of the day. We're applying the same rules, thresholds, and notifications to this weather system too. What you'll be able to do is set up triggers and notifications and events for both measurements and forecasts. So we'll let you know if a rain event is forecast and you need to take out pre-rainfall inspections, cover your stockpiles, all that sort of stuff. And we'll also then give you the full system of record for what actually happened, what fell on site, and what you did about it. So the same events, investigation, notification with the context of the images, the audio, the timescapes view, to investigate, explain, and have that full system of record for exactly what happened with all of your weather events. We then have intelligent forecasting on a different time horizon too. The Weather Insights panel, you can see up here in the top right, you can see where the key stats for the day so far, and then you can see potential warnings for your site, and we can dive in and look at the forecast for different time periods here too. We can choose the weather source. So what you can see here, this is the on-site Hexanode weather device. You can see from this how much rain has fallen so far, and you can see the forecast for the remainder of the day. This then also looks ahead to the 48 hours coming. So you can see now not only how much rain is forecasted to fall in the next 24 hours, but also the following day as well. We can then extend that out into a 7-day forecast. So you can confidently plan and action your works coming up based on the weather forecast in a super local way for your site specifically. You can then compare that with your nearby bomb station. So we pull in all the information from the bomb still. So you have that complete system of record of all of your weather data, not only from the bomb of your 3 nearest bomb stations, but now your network of on-site weather stations as well. So that is SiteHive Weather. Certainly keen to hear your feedback, see what you think, and get these out into your hands and help keep your projects moving. Adam.
Thank you, Ben. And it's certainly looking wet in Melbourne. Might have to think about my footy tips based on that weather forecast, Ben. It helps in different ways than just knowing what's happening on site. But no, we are genuinely very excited about SiteHive Weather. It's been something that we've been discussing with many projects, understanding the requirements, and it's fantastic for us to be sort of launching SiteHive Weather here today. In terms of where we're at, we're currently in preview mode. So what that means is that we currently have 10 of these devices out on different projects across Australia and New Zealand, and we're really getting input in terms of the data that we're capturing, how we present that information, what's important to you. And we're continuing to make those refinements to ensure that once we launch it, it's quite a mature offering ready to roll. We will be launching it officially, making it available in the coming sort of weeks to maybe month. We're just finalising the pricing at the moment, just working through how we make sure that this great bit of kit is affordable and that we can make it available for as many projects as possible. So we're just finalising that and should have information on that in the coming weeks. And I'd encourage you to reach out and speak to either one of our local business development managers or reach out to Ben, myself, Robbie, or whoever to chat about it. So coming up very shortly. So just to sort of wrap up, and we'll also throw to questions. And this wrap up sort of targets sort of the areas that we focus and how we think about what we're delivering to you. And that first area is really around measurements. And to that, I spoke about that independent assurance, making sure that you're confident that we're getting the calibration right. So you're now in a position to be able to go to another certified laboratory and get those devices calibrated. And we're equipping you to do that calibration. Accuracy, making sure that the measurements that we're capturing are accurate. We spoke about the co-location that we're doing on dust. We do lots of testing around vibration, lots of testing on noise. Making sure that our measurements are accurate is really core to our day-to-day activities. And beyond that, we're continuing to expand the number of measurements. So we sort of spoke to VC curves, ground-borne measurements. These are all examples where we're continuing to expand the measurements that we're making available to you. We think that there's more that we can do in terms of new measurements. So we think there's definitely a roadmap ahead for us to continue to expand those measurements. So certainly stay tuned for those. And I suppose I could actually put weather into that in of itself. Capturing those weather measurements is an expansion of what we're doing in terms of different measurements coming through. The next bucket's really around data. And Ben spoke to peak media and how we're actually able to capture that information. We're now capturing the noisiest, the dustiest, and the windiest things. So understanding how we can capture information that's relevant to you. Things like, I'll lost my thought there. I saw you on screen there, Josh, and I was just about to jump to timescapes. So very much around peak media, the way that we're presenting information in context. So things like taking dust and the weather data and seeing that information in context gives us a much deeper understanding as to what's going on. And then finally, integration. And Ben spoke to sort of the propeller, spoke to things like we're doing with Port Botany and the ship movement. But we're super excited and super pleased to be working with Timescapes, bringing some of that time-lapse imagery to SiteHive and also sharing data back. And I think this, again, is about that context and making that information richer so that we know what's going on site. And then finally, the world of AI. This, I think about AI as probably the biggest technology change that we've seen since the launch of the internet. And that changed business and it changed the way that we work. I have no doubt that AI is going to do that. And everyone I speak to is either using Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude, and we're seeing those changes come through. At SiteHive, we're using AI for audio classification, waveform classification. So we've been using AI already for a number of years. But this is absolutely changing the way that we work internally at SiteHive, but it is going to change how and what we deliver to you in the coming periods, coming year. So I fully expect that in the 2027 version of SiteHive Horizons, we will be talking a lot more about what we're able to do with AI to make your life easier and better. So certainly plenty more to come on the horizon from SiteHive. So that pretty much wraps us up. Eva, any questions that we need to answer?
Yeah, there was one from Sky. Sky asked if we had 2 or 3 noisy events that differently classified sources during a 15-minute period, would it pick them all up? Or are you saying that it'll only pick up one in the 15 minutes, i.e., is there a cool down period between media capture?
Yep, great question, Sky. So as Ben touched on, so originally the way that it worked was it was capturing the first noise exceedance. So if we had a threshold of 75 dB, the first exceedance over 75 dB was the image and the audio that were captured. We're now guaranteeing to capture the loudest thing in that integration period. So if it's a 15-minute period, it's the loudest exceedance in that 15-minute period. Now, if you reduce that down to a 5-minute period, then we're capturing the loudest exceedance within that 5-minute period. So it is only one, but effectively, if the loudest exceedance is on minute 15, that's the thing that we'll be presenting as opposed to the first one. But we do see that there's a roadmap ahead for us in terms of what we can do further with peak media. This was a big structural change in terms of how we were able to make sure that we captured the loudest thing, but we definitely feel that there's plenty of scope for us to provide more context, more information, that in terms of peak media. So stay tuned on that one. Other questions, Eva?
That's all we've got in the chat at the moment. I will say we'll send out this recording tomorrow, guys, and we'll also send some details on those upcoming webinars that Ben mentioned. So please join those if you want a little bit more detail. But if you do have another question, feel free to throw it in now.
Well,
that looks like all we've got, Adam.
Sorry, Elon?
That looks like that's all we've got question-wise.
No worries.
Guys, I might just take a quick moment to say it's been an absolute pleasure working with the SiteHive team. And again, super keen to see where the integration and the relationship goes from here.
Thank you, Josh, and we express our thanks for you coming on the road with us. Though a bit of a shame that your passport wasn't valid yesterday, but we'll forgive you for that one. Again, thank you all for attending SiteHive Horizons. We are in business to build technology to help you. That's what we love doing. We love seeing the feedback and see you take up the things that we build so that it can make your life easier. So thanks again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you out on site. Thanks, Eva.
Thanks, everybody.